welcome to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn here on RVN TV in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I am your host, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and with me today is a friend and colleague, Mr. Dean Karrel. Dean is an executive coach and a sales trainer with the Skyridge Group. Welcome to the program, Dean.
Dr. Jacalyn, it's good to see you again. I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving recess.
Yes, thank you. I spent some time with my mother. We're together 24/7. She tells me we're a couple now, so I did.
Terrific.
And I hope you had a nice holiday as well.
Yeah, certainly different, that's for sure. I think we're all learning to manage this whole process we're going through right now, which is challenging for everybody. So if we can say some blessings on Thanksgiving, I think that helps us all.
I totally agree with you. And I think one of the true blessings is that we've been able to reach out to people we never would have met otherwise. And I'm really thrilled to have met you and to have read your book, Mastering the Basics. This is like the Bible for anyone and everyone, whether you're in business or you can use it in your personal life, a lot of the things that you've written in here. So can you share with us, Dean, what was the impetus for you to write the book?
Well, I spent, I've been in business for more than 30 years. And I think when I first got into business, we were all a little bit intimidated working with a big corporation and reporting to people with fancy titles or with advanced degrees. And I found myself at some point early in my career trying to overdo it or overproduce or try to be somebody I really wasn't. And I had an eye-opening experience in the middle part of my career where I realized I just needed to be myself. And a lot of these things are the basic skills that I talk about in the book, about being aware, having emotional intelligence, working hard, showing up on time, smiling, and just being a good person. And a lot of these skills, they're not taught in business schools or are part of training programs, but I think they're so critically important if you want to be successful in business.
Very well said. And what I really like about the book, too, is that it's easy to read. And you've written it sort of in, I want to say, little snippets, little packages of information that you can refer to at any time. What do you think is your favorite chapter in the book?
Well, there are a lot. I think there's, you go back to your point there. I think our reading habits have changed over the past decade for sure, where we like to read quickly and read fast and get our information quickly. So you talk about the snippets. I have 200 topics in the book that cover everything from work habits to working with micromanagers to how to be successful, how to manage stress, how to work with others within an organization. And each of these are about a page to a page and a half long. So it's not the type of book that you pick up on a Saturday or a Sunday and read from page 1 to page 300. You do and read a little bit at a time. I think my favorite is the one that I believe in, again, in both in work and in my sales training programs, is you have to believe in your abilities and how you enhance your skills and how you perform better. It's really hard to do, and I talk about it a lot both in my book and also in my sales training, is that over the course of my career, I've had highs and lows of both good times and bad, and I think we always need to find ways that we can believe in our abilities. It's not always going to be a sunny day, but you have to find those ways to maximize your abilities.
Absolutely. We have to find ways to persevere and persevere with enjoyment, right? With passion and commitment. Dean, I'm wondering...
It's not easy now, and I think it's okay to admit that we're having difficulties in times like we're all going through right now. It's very easy to say, oh, I'm handling the process well of working from home and being remote and doing Zoom or Microsoft Team meetings or whatever. But at times it can be difficult, and it's okay to admit that. And that's one of the things I always try to talk about in my training and also in my book. Just be yourself and admit if you need help. Raise your hand if you need assistance. And that's so especially important right now with everything that we're going through.
And we've certainly evolved as a society in that it's good to ask for help. It used to be when I was growing up that you didn't ask for help, you had to do everything yourself. But now we're in a world where we can ask for help, and that's really applauded.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's such a critical point. It's actually funny. I have in my wallet a note that I wrote to myself, more than 30 years ago. It's close to 40 years ago. It's a little note saying, think back and remember was a really tough day in my career, and I'm thinking, what am I doing, and where's my future? And I kept this in my wallet for close to 40 years just to remind myself that there are struggles. Now, 40 years ago, this was self-care. I probably could have used professional help, but this was my idea of professional help. And I think today, if you're not reaching out and asking for assistance, whether it's from a coach like you, Dr. Jacalyn, or somebody who's a therapist, or your manager, or somebody from human resources, I think you're missing out on opportunities to find ways to be better.
I'm so touched by that, the fact that you've had that note for all these years. That's amazing.
Yeah, I started a career. I moved to upstate New York. It was snowing. It was the middle of nowhere. I thought I was going to be going into a career of broadcasting. And lo and behold, there I am selling and working for a publishing company. And it was one of those dark days that we all have, saying, what's my future going to be? 22, 23 years old, and I'm single in the middle of nowhere. And I just wrote it down, and I said, never forget this moment, how difficult that time period was. And what I like telling people about is I don't refer to it all the time, but there have been times throughout my career where I refer to that note, in my 30s and my 40s. And when I switched my careers later on in my life, there were moments where I said, what the heck am I doing? I was with this very large company, had a great job, and all of a sudden now I changed. Well, I referred to that note again. And it's okay to admit that. And I think that's what's so important, and we all need to recognize.
Agreed. There's actually success in failure. There's opportunity when things don't go right. So you've had quite a career, and as an executive coach and a sales trainer, can you share with us about the work that you're doing at the Skyridge Group?
Well, again, I worked in publishing as a sales director for a very large publisher for more than 20 years. It was a company called Wiley, based in Hoboken, New Jersey. And great job. Got to travel the world, work with customers from around the world, and I worked with some of the best salespeople in the business. I had a blast. The dilemma is that the publishing world has changed, and the marketplace has changed. And I was at the stage of my career where I was constantly doing reorganizing and restructuring, which is not fun. I enjoy working with people and coaching people and helping them enhance their abilities. So about 5.5 years ago, I decided, and I said, I want to just change. I want to do something that I really enjoy. And I went back to school, went back to New York University, took courses in coaching and training. And, I had all of the practical experience for all of those years, but I needed some foundational experience from an educational institution. So I did that. And I work with people now in the middle stages of their careers. People who are maybe managers getting to the next level. They're trying to navigate a corporate organization and figure out how they can develop and grow their careers. So it's people in those middle stages. I don't work with senior executives. I work with some people who are just out of college, but it's mostly people in the middle stages of their careers on how to enhance and develop their abilities and skills.
I really admire the way that you have honed your area of expertise. I know there have been various times in my career when I was doing this and doing that and thinking I could do all those things, but you really have to have a narrow focus so that you can target people and align yourself with your skill set and what it is they're looking for.
Yes, I mean, you're being kind to me because, and it sounds like I'm really got this all focused. When I first started this, I said, I'll coach and work with anybody. And I realized that my expertise is really people in the middle stages of their careers. And but early on, I was, okay, I'll work with you and I'll work with you. And then you realize you need to focus. And that's one of the, as you well know, as a coach, I mean, it's focusing on your target audience. And that's a lesson I learned early on and very quickly. And I enjoy it. It's very hard work, as you well know. I mean, you just don't sit down with somebody and say, I'm going to assist you and listen to you and guide you and help you along. It is I find it very intense at times. So it's it's why I split up my work. I do coaching, I do sales training, and then based off of my book, I do presentations. That's where I work with recent college graduates is a lot with the book, Mastering the Basics on how you, again, navigate your way through your early stages of a career.
And Dean, you just touched on this, but it's also in your book, and I think it's really important, is the active listening piece. What can you share with us about how important it is to really listen?
Well, this is true both in business and our personal lives. And I think if we all listened more and talked less, we'd probably all be better off. I mean, certainly in this day and age, when somebody makes a statement, we're all ready to jump right in and have our own opinion. And it's a real skill set to be able to sit back and ask a question and listen. And too often we get a question or we hear a statement and you haven't even finished your thought and somebody's ready to jump right in and you also. And it's a real important quality to have, and it's part of having strong emotional intelligence and being aware of other people and understanding what they're going through. So I believe listening, again, in our personal lives and in business, is probably one of the most important skills that we all need to work on.
And there are different types of listening, right? There's you're listening to someone, but you're actually thinking about something else, or you're waiting for them to stop talking so you can ask whatever it is that you want to ask. But then it's that third part as coaches that we have to be fully present and totally engaged while we're listening.
Yes, and it is a real skill set. There's not an MBA course on listening. There are some great books on listening. So there's some great courses, short courses on LinkedIn Learning that you can take on listening. And I think it's probably should be a requirement for all of us. And it's the art of I often say you put your hands underneath your thighs and just sit there and be quiet and listen and look at somebody. And it's sometimes very difficult to do, especially in sales. We're all, in my background, we're all ready to talk about the product or service that we have. And the best salespeople are the ones who say, how can I help you? Or what are you working on? Or what are you trying to solve? And then just be quiet. And I think it's a really critical skill.
And you were just talking a few moments ago about courses and coursework. And as a sales trainer, I know you do a lot of work with LinkedIn, which is really impressive. Can you share with us exactly what your role is for sales training there?
It's been so much fun. I teach basic sales skills. It's very similar to my book. I teach basic selling skills. Again, we often get intimidated by watching, whether it's movies or seeing sales trainers with the hands waving, and this is how you can be successful. But I teach basic lessons in how to sell and work with people. And I got connected with the training division of LinkedIn Learning about 4 years ago. And I have courses, my entry-level course is called Preparing Yourself for a Career in Sales. And I talk about basic human relation skills, interpersonal skills, how you communicate. And I talk very little about selling. I talk more about human relations and interpersonal skills. And I have courses on closing techniques and handling objections and working with numbers and so forth. But the real core of what I teach is like a course called Creating Your Sales Process. When we think of sales, if I said, Dr. Jacalyn, when you think of sales, everybody goes, well, let's talk about closing. And that's the part everybody's fearful about of sales, because you can hear rejection. But I think closing is the easiest part of sales, because if you do all the other parts of the sales process correctly, the close is actually very simple. And that again goes back to listening, asking questions, being curious, and so on and so forth. And I have 13 courses now with LinkedIn Learning. And it's been so much fun. I'm working and hearing from salespeople from around the world, from Russia to the Middle East to the UK to South America, and of course in North America. And it's been a real treat and a joy to be able to work with learners around the world.
I've listened to some of your courses, and they're really filled with wonderful information. Just as you mentioned, people calling from all over the world asking questions. So yeah. I want to get back, we have to take a break, but I want to find out where we can sign up for these courses on LinkedIn. We'll come back right after this break and hear from our sponsors. Stay with us. I'm with Dean Karrel today.
Why buy local? When you shop with local businesses, you're spending your money on more than just the item you're buying. You're adding a building block to your neighborhood. It starts with a single purchase, maybe a cup of coffee, groceries from a local co-op, or even a shiny new bicycle from one of the nearly 28 million small businesses nationwide. Your money doesn't stay in the till for long though. Local business owners use the money to create a lot of economic activity in your neighborhood, like buying from suppliers, many of whom are also local businesses. paying taxes to the city, which builds and maintains the infrastructure we all rely on, employing local workers, contributing to 65% of the net new jobs each year. Add this all together and you've got a recipe for a happier, healthier, more connected neighborhood. Now that's an investment worth making.
Welcome back to Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn. I am your host, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, here at RVN TV in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. My guest today is Dean Karrel. He's an executive coach and a sales trainer with the Skyridge Group. And we were just talking about the fact, Dean, that you've got these 13 courses on LinkedIn Learning. How does someone actually find those courses?
Well, when I work with people, I always talk about the importance of being on LinkedIn, being active on LinkedIn. And one of the divisions of LinkedIn is called LinkedIn Learning. And once you're on LinkedIn, you just go into one of their menu items, and it's called their learning items. And it's there are over 16,000 courses that LinkedIn Learning has. You get your first month is free, actually, where you can watch as many courses as you want for free. And then after that, they have a fee of, I think it's about $25 a month, where you can watch courses. Many companies often offer these courses as part of the license within the company, where you can take these courses in the creative area, in the business area, and also in technology. So it's again, 16,000 courses that are available, and I would urge everybody just to check it out. Most of the courses are about 45 to 50 minutes to an hour long, and you can learn everything, again, as I said, from creative subjects to business and technology.
And you may not want to share this number because it's so impressive, but the number of followers you have on LinkedIn is what, 13,000?
I have about 13,000 followers, and there's some people who have a lot more. And these are people who like what I post. I post very often on LinkedIn my personal messages about business, and where I talk about the successes and disappointments, opportunities and threats that I've encountered over the course of my career, and that's enabled me to have a nice set of followers from my work. And even for my sales courses, it actually is mind-boggling. You know, when you say, I can't believe this many people are watching my courses. And, so I have one of the courses on closing techniques has close to 100,000 views, individual viewers. And overall, it's over 850,000 views. And this started out, again, 4 years ago with me just doing a basic entry-level course on sales. And that's a lot. That's a lot of fun, and something that I really take great pleasure in.
Well, I think you should be quite proud of that. I have never actually met anyone who has 13,000 followers, so that is really, really impressive. And Dean, I'm wondering what a successful salesperson has to have in terms of skill sets, based on your experience.
Well, what's interesting, again, when we often talk about sales, we think of, the stereotype of the aggressive salesperson, somebody who's manipulative, somebody like the Wolf of Wall Street, which is exactly what not sales is all about. And sales to me it goes back to that word of listening and being curious and asking good questions. And the best salespeople are like that. They have good people skills, good social skills, interpersonal skills. I have a checklist that I work with people about 10 to 20 items, and it doesn't talk about, you need to be a good closer, you need to be able to handle objections. Yes, that's all part of it, but it really comes back to, being organized and working hard, knowing your priorities, keeping things simple. And again, sometimes people look at me and they say, Dean, is that really what you think a salesperson is all about? That's how I hired salespeople, based on those types of skills. Were they good listeners? What was the first impressions that they made? Did they show energy? Are they enthusiastic, easily motivated, optimistic? All of these are positive qualities that I think are so important. And I think those are the backbone of what makes a professional salesperson. Credibility, integrity, a great reputation, and having character. And character, I think, is who we really are as a person. And so again, those are the basics and the foundations of what I believe in, both as a person and as a business person.
You touched on some really important qualities that character is huge. And I want to just relate that back to that paper that you carry in your wallet, because as you mentioned before, things are not always rosy, everything is not always perfect, and we will come upon challenges that are going to come up for us. And I think your character really will determine how you react and how you deal with those issues. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a quote there. There's a basketball coach, John Wooden, who used to coach for UCLA, and he had this quote that I think is terrific. And your character is how you act when no one's looking, and how are you acting in a situation where people don't know, you can't see you. That's where your true character comes to be, and we really are as a person. Can you look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with how you're acting and what you're doing and what your actions are, how you're helping others, how you're reaching out to others, how you're supporting others? That's the inner core of who we really are. And I think that's a true critical character, and is a true critical aspect of who we are as people.
Well stated. And Dean, what are you finding as a coach in terms of people's career choices? Are people coming to you because they want to leave their corporate job and start a new business? Are you finding business owners who want to transition to something else?
I think this year it's all over the place. And what I'm finding is that some people are doing really well. And it's you have people in the technology fields or certain businesses that are doing real, and then you have the exact opposite, where some people, it's really tough. And they're really suffering. We say, the economy's doing well, this aspect, or 401ks are doing really well over here, or the stock market's up. But when you go down and talk to the average person who lives in your neighborhood or the person who works in your old company, there's a lot of people struggling right now. And so it's and people are trying to find that next career aspect or career opportunity, whether it's in sales or whether it's technology. If you worked in the hospitality industry, if you worked as a hotel, an event planner, oh my goodness, their worlds have been turned upside down. So a number of these are the people that I'm talking to and saying, and trying to help them find that next career step. That's what I talked about before. And again, you know this as well as I do, Dr. Jacalyn. That's where you really hear the struggles that people are going through and the torment. Some people have worked 20, 30 years, and all of a sudden it's a roller coaster. They had to go in a different direction. It's very easy to say, go look for another job and reskill and retool. But when it's you, and you have to pay the mortgage or you have to pay bills, it's a real tough struggle. So I'm seeing it all over the place this year. Which is why I always go back to that aspect. I think the real the undercurrent of what's going on right now in our country and in the world is a mental health aspect that we all need to be aware of. And I read an article the other day talking about, this time of year is always tough for many people because it's holiday season from Thanksgiving to Christmas. And now you add in the aspect of what's going on with COVID and what's going on with our world and social issues and political issues. There are a lot of people hurting right now. And which is why, as you said, this is the time when we all need to reach out to others.
And Dean, for these people whom you've been meeting with, and really for anyone who's going through a change, as really everyone is, how can we use this book and how can we use these sales training courses that you have to retool or pivot at this time in our lives?
I think the message has always got to be, and what I always stress in my book is just how do you enhance the skills that we were given? And I talk about all the time that in college, I was a B student. I really was. And that was because of extra credit. And, I worked a little extra harder to get that 3.0. And I think most of us, all of us are between a 2.0 and a 3.5 grade point average when we were in high school or college. So how do you enhance your skills? How do you get to that next level? How do you improve? And that's what I talk about in my book, are enhancing the basic skills of whether it's working hard, showing up on time, saying hello. How many times Do you get thank you notes from people? It's amazing how that sticks out and people remember. And over the course of my career, whether it's sending thank you notes or words of encouragement to the people I've worked with, and to this day, people will come back to me and say, Dean, I have a note you gave to me 20 years ago where you thanked me for that job that I did, or you congratulated me from that promotion. A little taking that extra time to reach out to others. And I think that's what the messages of my book is: mastering basic skills, enhancing your abilities so you can do the best that is available to you in the marketplace and in your personal life.
And I highly recommend this book. This is really the Bible, as far as I'm concerned, for sales tools and life skills in here as well. It's almost time for our interview to be over, but I'm wondering, would you do your Alec Baldwin impression?
When I talk about sales, we go back to movies all the time. And I talked about before, The Wolf of Wall Street. And again, that gentleman has reformed himself. He had to go to jail, but he's reformed himself and does sales training right now. But there's that movie with Alec Baldwin and Glengarry Glen Ross where he goes, always be closing. And it's one of those scenes, the leads aren't weak, you're weak. And it's like, oh my gosh, and it's so, but that's not what sales is. But Alec Baldwin in that scene with all of those great actors, it is a great entertainment scene, but it scares the heck out of me as a sales professional.
That was terrific. Thank you. Dean, where can we purchase your book?
It is available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. You can order it also from any local bookseller. It is available very easily. Local booksellers are struggling, independent bookstores. Order it through them. They'll be happy to get it. If you're an online person, again, Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com have it available.
And if we want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to contact you?
Well, as I've talked about, I'm on LinkedIn all the time, and I post. In fact, I have a post today that's doing really well. I talk again about basic sales skills. Follow me on LinkedIn. Connect with me on LinkedIn. That's the best place. And I also have my website and my business, theskyridgegroup.com.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure seeing you, Dean, and thank you for all you're doing to educate us on the getting back to basics in the business world and in real life skills that we can use throughout the course of our lives. And I really appreciate you and have a lot of respect for you.
Well, it's a two-way street, Dr. Jacalyn. I appreciate all the work you're doing and the efforts you have to help people out. And you're a good person. So it's been a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you, Dean. We'll see you again. That's all for today on Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn here on RVN TV. Thank you for watching.